Mark 2:15 through 17. And it came about that he was reclining at the table in his house, and many tax gatherers and sinners were dining with Jesus and his disciples, for there were many of them, and they were following him. And when the scribes of the Pharisees saw that he was eating with the sinners and tax gatherers, they began saying to his disciples, "Why is he eating and drinking with tax gatherers and sinners?" And hearing this, Jesus said to them, "It is not those who are healthy who need a physician, but those who are sick. I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners."
So let's go back to verse 15 and pick this apart. It says, "And it came about that he was reclining at the table in his house, and many tax gatherers and sinners were dining with Jesus and his disciples. For there were many of them, and they were following him." And I think a lot of people today try to use this verse in this situation to justify things that they're doing in their life that they may not feel 100% that God approves of it. And don't you think it kind of it's a pushing boundaries kind of thing where they want to say, well, is it okay to do this with certain things? Or
I don't even see it as them pushing boundaries. I see it as them using Jesus, trying to use Jesus and what he was doing as an excuse for really what's bad behavior. And they're trying to say, well, Jesus ate with sinners. So basically, like, I represent Jesus. I believe in Jesus. So why is it wrong for me to do, XYZ, fill in the blank? There's many different things you could say, but the point that they're missing is that Jesus just wasn't eating with sinners and shooting the breeze and
to do what they wanted to do what they were doing.
Yeah, he wasn't like in their domain, like
he wasn't joining their scene.
Yeah, exactly. The key thing right there in 15 says they were following him. So they obviously were there because they were listening to him. It's Jesus. He's not just going to be like sitting there, letting these people sin and do whatever they do and not correct them, because correcting somebody in their sin is actually love, and that's him. So to think that he was just sitting there, chilling, just chucking it up with sinners, not saying a word, is pretty ignorant.
Yeah, I think it's cool too, because you look at that verse and you see that look at 17. He says, "I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners." And so this whole thing is talking about him calling Levi into discipleship and to follow him. So he wants to teach him to be a disciple. So he's calling Levi, and he's going to, or Matthew, he's going to his house to, fellowship with him and probably disciple him. But Jesus can't help that there are people that they call it sinners here, but they're essentially the lost. And the sinners are the people that are in need. So they're coming because of what Jesus had done in the past few days before that. They are drawn to him because they see his authority. They see his power. They have heard his teachings. And they're wanting to follow him and get a piece of, what he has. So yeah, they're not coming to exemplify their sinful lifestyle and say, "Hey, Jesus, why don't you be a part of this?" No, he's saying, "I'm here. I've come to save the lost. I'm here to, bring sinners unto righteousness." And they're interested.
Yeah, they're
there because
not saying,
they're interested.
"Oh, we heard this guy and he's so accepting and loving, and he just, he doesn't call anybody out and he accepts everybody." And no.
Let's see if he wants to hang out and drink beer, and they don't, they're not doing that, but they're saying, "No, we want to hear what he has to say."
Yeah, like we see that he's actually changing people's lives in radical ways, and we want some of that too.
Yep.
So if you were hanging out with sinners and you were actually like displaying the power of God or teaching the message of God and affecting them, and they were coming away from their time with you as a different person, then yeah, you would be the example that he's setting there. But how often is that actually happening? Unfortunately, it's just typically the other way around. And when you end up hanging out with those people and doing those things, they end up influencing you in a negative way and silencing you and your message, and you come away a different person. You come away, with less of what God was trying to use you for.
Yeah, it's funny too because I was looking at verse 16, and this is depicting our view on this scripture right here. It's interesting because the scribes and the Pharisees saw that Jesus was eating with sinners, and I'm sure they had the same idea. And are we the modern day Pharisees when we're trying to justify it or maybe even condemn Jesus for doing this? And now we're just putting his righteousness aside and saying, well, he wasn't so righteous. He wasn't so holy. He hung out with sinners. It's okay for us to be so unrighteous and so unholy to go hang out with these sinners. So really, if we have that attitude, we're basically, putting his righteousness kind of in the dust and saying, he's not so righteous. He's human after all. He has he has these desires, and he was fulfilling the desires of the flesh. So we're really, bringing us into a sinful nature kind of perspective and really putting his righteousness
Which is
to
basically
shame.
what they were doing, and essentially
They were trying to find fault
it was
constantly.
self-righteous on their part.
Yep.
And that's pretty much his point in 17. I did not come to call the righteous, but the sinners. If you already think that you're righteous, if you already think you have it all figured out, I can't really help you. I mean, technically, in your own eyes, do you even see that you need the help? No, you don't. That's why I came for these people who are following me, who are coming to me, who are hungry to hear what I have to say.
Yep. Here's the solution to the life. Here are the answers to the problems. Get the, everything that you need that you're lacking. But yeah, the righteous have everything,
Yep.
or think that they have everything they need,
Yep.
and others need what they have. Pretty cool.